Hey y'all, in this video, I'm going to share 5 ways to get support before you even start your nonprofit. Let's get into this one. Hey everybody, this is Tiffany with Boss on a Budget. If you don't know who I am, I help people start nonprofits and I help them raise startup money for their nonprofits. And it's my passion to help new and small nonprofits be successful because new and small nonprofits deserve support, just like established nonprofits. So if you need help with your nonprofit, make sure you subscribe because I drop videos every single week. And today I wanted to talk about a topic that I often get questions about, like how do I get support for the work that I'm doing when I'm relatively unknown and I haven't really made my mark yet. So how do I kind of build that momentum? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So a lot of what I'm going to share today is in reference to what I talked about in my nonprofit visibility masterclass. And so when I talk about fundraising, you'll often hear me say that you got to be visible in order to be funded. And so that masterclass in particular went through very specific strategies about how to get visible, even if you're new and you're unknown. And I also spent quite a bit of time on like a specific social media strategy. So if you need help with your visibility, check out my nonprofit visibility masterclass. I am linking that below. And I also want you to wait to the end because I have one piece of advice that if you're trying to get support and you feel like you don't have any, you don't have board members, you don't have like rich friends who can support you, I'm going to give you one piece of advice to keep you motivated and to give you encouragement to keep going. So these 5 specific strategies are how to kind of validate you or establish you as an authority or establish you as an expert. I often talk about making sure that when you're new that you establish yourself as an expert in your field or in the industry that you're working in or in the local geographic area that you reside in or that you're providing services in. Like, people give to things that they trust and to things and people they believe are the best suited to do the work. So if you can convince people to trust you to do this work, then that's the first step to you getting whatever support you need, whether that's financial, whether it's some kind of other support that you need in order to launch. So these strategies that I'm talking about today are all focused on how can you establish your credibility. And this is even before you sign any paperwork, even before you incorporate as a nonprofit or you start your nonprofit journey. This is how you can build momentum. This is how you can get people to trust you and to bring people along your journey so that when it is time to start, you have potential board members, you have people who are ready to volunteer, you have people who are ready to raise money on your behalf. That's the point of this today. So I really hope these specific strategies help you along your journey. So the first strategy that I would think about is creating a Facebook group. Now here's the thing. If this is now 2023, who knows years from now whether Facebook groups would even be a thing. So I want you I'm saying Facebook group, but I just want you to keep in mind that this could be in reference to any kind of online or virtual community. But I'm talking about Facebook groups specifically because I have the most experience there and also because they are a powerful tool to build a sense of community. So when you are starting out as a nonprofit, the thing you want to focus on is making sure that you gather people who are like-minded, who have similar experiences at what you're trying to address, or people who are just as fired up as you about a topic, right? So say like you are a mom who's dealing with miscarriage, right? And you realize that there's not a safe space to talk about what it's like as a mom to experience that, right? The fear that you may go through having children again, the depression of losing children, that whole experience, there may not be a space that exists for that. But if you create a space for moms to come together to talk about that experience, you give them what they need to build together, to create relationships across the country or across the world, to give them time to vent, to give them that time to ask advice or to educate each other. When you create a space like that, and the reason why I'm saying virtually, because you can scale, right? You can get to like unlimited numbers of people because it's accessible to a lot of different people, not just the people in your area. When you provide that space, you basically have a very cultivated group of people who want the same thing as you. So what do I mean by that? So say you want to create a nonprofit to support women who are dealing with the loss of a child, right? Or maybe it's women who are dealing with postpartum depression. It may not have anything to do with miscarriage, but a lot of those women may already have children and may have also dealt with postpartum depression, right? So you're doing a nonprofit in that general area, around that general topic. The same women that are in this group are the same women who are either be clients of yours, either be ambassadors for your organization, because they're like, I believe in this work, I want to help other mothers like me. They probably will be financial supporters, and you're going to have people in there who are going to want to serve on your board. So when you cultivate a sense of community for people and you create a safe space, and when you create the audience, like you create the space for the audience that you need to get the support, you're starting in such a great place. And you see, I'm getting excited. You can tell I get excited when I hunch my shoulders. But I'm very excited about it because there's so much potential in that, right? There's so many people who belong to different Facebook groups who feel like family with the people that they meet and the people that they engage with. So if you create a quality group, you are essentially starting with a group of people who are ready, a group of people who are primed to take action and to do something. The second idea I want to share is providing education, right? Teaching on a particular topic. And for this specific example, I'm just going to say free classes, right? Because you want to be able to reach a lot of people and lessen those barriers when you create a free platform, right? So when you create a free class, you can talk about a particular topic that you want to address. So say you want to teach people about home ownership, like you're really passionate about people who typically wouldn't have access to own their own homes. You're passionate about giving that information and providing that information to them. So one way you can begin to build like a group of people to support you or kind of build momentum for support for your idea is to start teaching on that topic, right? So say you partner with a local church or you partner with a local library, you don't have to pay for the space. All it is basically you creating the same package, right? It doesn't have to be super detailed, but it should provide value. Maybe it's an hour-long class, right? I used to do 2-hour free grant writing classes, right? It doesn't have to be a lot. And you do that class over and over again and you provide it for free in your community. And what you're doing by creating these classes, you're doing a couple things. First thing is you're building your mailing list. You're building a list of people who may need your services, right? You're building a list of people who may want to come back to you or engage with your organization, or you're also building potential fans, because if people are able to secure housing or buy houses as a result of your program or as a result of your free classes, they're going to come back and sing your praises and want to support your organization. They're going to want to say, I was helped and now I want to help someone else, when you get to the point when you create a nonprofit and you're asking for financial support, right? So that's one piece. The second reason why this is important is because you're basically establishing yourself as an expert for reaching a certain kind of person who may have had difficulty purchasing homes in the past, or who may have never thought they would have access to even buy a home or the ability to buy a home. When you begin to teach classes to people, you begin to develop a certain kind of audience, right? So the whole point of my example was you want to make it accessible. That's a certain profile, right? Your audience probably looks the same. They probably have the same income bracket. They probably have similar ethnic backgrounds. They probably have similar past experiences. Maybe they have poor credit and it was difficult for them to overcome that. So when you begin to teach those people, you're building up your expertise in their experience and what it takes to get them over that hump. So home ownership is a big deal, right? And there are organizations that are focused on economic security and focused on financial independence. And they know that a key to wealth is home ownership. So you could be the missing piece. They may have programming where they're trying to get people to get into homes. They're trying to show good outcomes. They're trying to find people who can acquire homes, but they don't necessarily know how to get to the people who struggle, right? Those organizations may not understand the experience or the path of the people that you're serving, that you're helping, because you know how to speak to them. You provided free classes, you heard their stories, and you say, you think that the way to get to them and the reason why they're not acquiring their homes is this, but it's been my experience is actually this. And this is how you teach people. This is how you get them to understand. This is how you relate to their experience, right? And I know I'm talking very generally, but I hope you get the point that you begin to develop an expertise when you begin to teach people. You become the go-to person that people can go to, get advice from, figure out how to address a certain thing. And that's the first step in establishing your credibility. So if you were to create a nonprofit around home ownership, around teaching financial literacy, your whole angle is, I know how to talk to people with poor credit scores. This is the kind of program you need to have. All these other programs talk up here, but our program can talk to these people in this way and get success. And then people begin to ask, well, how are you so successful with this type of population? Like, how can you see successful outcomes when we can't? And when you begin to create your angle, right, you begin to distinguish yourself and people begin to seek you out and want to support you because you have the special sauce, right? So the second thing, I talked a lot, but the whole point of that is to say, when you begin to be the teacher, you begin to establish yourself as the go-to, and you have a specific angle and a specific perspective that no one else can have. Number 3 is very much related to what I talked about. It is to write, right? It is to write about your experience and educate people in written form about your topic or about your cause. And specifically, you don't necessarily have to be in national publications or things like that. You can write on LinkedIn. You can create LinkedIn articles. It's a platform already set up for you. It's a platform that already has an active audience where you can share and network. Or you can go on websites like medium.com and create your own articles and your own content. And you can begin to write on different topics related to your cause. So maybe you want to talk about environmental justice in the Black community, right? And a lot of people don't really see those as connecting, right? So sometimes when people hear about the environment, they're thinking about, oh, save the whales or save the ocean. But if we don't think about, safe water, clean water, keeping contaminants out of our soil, and people who are in low income areas or people who tend to be in very concentrated areas tend to be affected by negative environmental factors, right? And it happens to be in a lot of Black neighborhoods, Black low income neighborhoods, that they're often affected by dirty water, right? They're often affected by the remnants of poor decisions that businesses make that harm the environment. And that is an environmental justice issue. But you're trying to get people to see that, and people may not make that connection, but when you talk in the way that I just talked about, when you give those examples, people begin to get it. So you can begin to write articles to break that down for people. And it doesn't have to be super complicated, right? And it doesn't have to be long articles. It could just be a series of articles. Let me show you what it really looks like. You can share stories about the experience of people when we don't pay attention to the environment, when we don't clean up our trash, or when we don't make sure our water is clean, right? When we don't take care of our oceans and our lakes and our bodies of water. You can talk about what that means in real life, and you can bring life. You can bring a human side to a social cause through writing. And when you begin to write and when you begin to publish, people absolutely see you as an expert, especially when you write a lot of content. When it seems like you know what you're talking about, you're an authority on what you're saying, right? And I'm not just saying write nonsense, y'all, but really talk about the issues, really break it down, explain it for people, because a lot of people don't really understand the issue. Just because you're in the middle of the issue and you get it, it doesn't mean that other people who are not as closely connected will get it. So your job is to break it down for those people. And when you do, they begin to gravitate to you as the expert. They begin to ask you, what do you think? What does it mean when we do this? They begin to ask your advice. And As I've been saying this whole video, the first step into getting support, into getting financial support especially, is trust. It's visibility, and then it's trust. And when people trust that you know what you're talking about and you know how to address it, then they're going to believe that when they give you their dollars, that you're going to do something about what you're talking about. So that's why establishing yourself as an authority is really, really key. And it's a low barrier way to do it. It costs nothing to write an article. It just costs time. So if you're really trying to establish yourself as an authority and you want to get some support and some momentum around your issue, then one suggestion that I would have, as I just said, is to write articles or create written content about your cause. Number 4 is around engaging the media. So one great way to get instant credibility is to have a feature story about your organization, whether it's in a news article or an online article, whether it's in a TV segment or whatever it is. That's a great way for people to see that you're actually a credible organization or that you're a credible source, right? And so I'm talking about building support before you start, before you're an organization. So when you begin to talk about a cause and you want to lift up an issue over and over again. So maybe you want to talk about food deserts in your area, right? And you want to talk about how important it is for everyone to have access to safe, quality, healthy food. But you're talking about the fact that it doesn't exist, right? And so you have maybe organized some kind of food drive or organized like a small plot of land for you guys to come together, right? To do something. And this is just me like throwing an example up. It could be anything. But just remember, when you're engaging the media, it needs to be like around a story. It needs to be around an event. Otherwise, why else would they feature you? So just keep that in mind. So you're building like chatter about something that you're doing, right? And you're engaging the media to come cover it so that they have something to talk about in their segments or related to what they talk about, whether it's the news or in the newspaper and things like that. So you can begin to talk about the work that you're doing and begin to be highlighted as an expert in talking about accessible food in your area, right? So every time there's an issue around food, every time there's an issue that comes up, maybe in national news around access to food, we're dealing with the cost of eggs right now. That's a hot story. You can make friends with your local media and they can begin to tap into you to talk about it from your angle. Right? Well, here's our local resident activist talking about food, and with the high prices of eggs, we want to get your take on how it affects our community, right? So you can make it relate to your local community and they begin to tap into you, they meaning the media, to talk about what you do. And when you begin to build that credibility, people begin to trust you. Hello, there goes that word again. Trust you to do the work. So when it's time to really organize and create your organization, you have an audience that's already built in to trust you, and they can go with you, right? They can go with you along the journey as you begin to launch. All right, number 5 is an interesting one. Just stay with me on this. Number 5 is you become an organizer of things. So instead of actually doing services yet or providing direct services to someone, you become an organizer of people who are doing the work. And I'm gonna give you an example of this. So say you really believe in supporting the local economy and you have local business folks in your area who need visibility. So you're gonna bring those people together. You're gonna organize a group or organize an association to support those people, right? And you maybe begin to organize local markets or local fairs or local online spotlights, or you begin to create opportunities for those people. So you're the organizer of that work. When you do stuff like that, people begin to come to you as the what, y'all? I've said it a bunch of times in this video, as the authority. When you are the person who's like the go-to to organize events, or you know what people do this, or you know, oh, there are businesses out there that are doing this, I can connect you with this. When you become the connector, when you become the organizer, people begin to see you as a go-to. They begin to see you as an expert and they gravitate toward you. If someone has a question about what it's like to be a small business owner, you may not even be any of those business owners that you feature or you organize, but they come to you because they know you know the experience because you're tapped into those people. You can almost be like a gatekeeper to help connect people, build that network of local people in your area, and you begin to edge out as a key person that people should tap into and go to, right? And this matters when it comes to like your local politicians, right? When they want to tap into you around local business or they want to do events, they're probably going to come to you first instead of individual businesses, because you can be the one to pull people together. So this may not always make sense for what you're trying to do, right? This may only make sense for certain type of work that you're doing. But again, when you focus on building a sense of community, when you are the one as seen as the organizer, people begin to trust you. And when it's time for you, say you want to create a nonprofit that supports new businesses, right? People see you, like people know you, they connect to you. They'll be more willing to work with you because they've seen what you've done in the past and they know that you have credibility. That's the point of it all. So just remember the words that I used in this video: trust, the authority, credibility, the expert. Think of those things when you're trying to build support, when you want people to get behind you. So this is my piece of advice for those of you who have not started and you're trying to build your momentum and you're trying to get support. And this is even for people who've already started their nonprofits, but they're struggling with getting support. They're struggling with people paying attention to what they're doing. This is the biggest piece of advice that I could give you in this period. Focus on the cause. Focus on the issue. Don't focus on yourself, and don't focus on your organization, right? I'm going to explain what that means. People get excited when they hear about a solution to a problem that irritates them, that pisses them off, that makes them think, that makes them angry. When there's a nagging issue happening that matters to them, and they see that somebody has an answer, and they see that someone's being productive and someone's working on it, and even better, someone's having success at addressing it, people begin to get behind that kind of thing, and people trust that more. People don't necessarily trust you just because you say, well, I'm an organization that does this. You could do that all day. That is not what people don't necessarily care about the what first. They care about what you're going to do about the nagging problem, the nagging issue that just can't seem to be addressed. So what you want to do is you want to agitate people. And it sounds funny. It sounds like, Tiffany, what do you mean? Like, I'm not trying to fight people. we're trying to do some good out here. I'm not saying like, make people mad just for the sake of making them mad. I'm saying get them activated, get them amped up, help them realize that this is a real issue, get them concerned about the issue. And then when they are concerned about the issue, give them an avenue or a pathway to make it better. And that avenue and that pathway to make it better is by helping your organization fix the problem, address the problem. Because once you agitate people, they're going to want to resolve it. They're going to want to do something about it. And when they see, well, there is something we can do. We could do this right now. And it doesn't take a lot. It just takes me volunteering, or it just takes me donating $20, right? When you provide that easy solution for people, that's when the support comes. Right? So instead of focusing on, I'm starting a new organization, I'm starting up, support me because we need to do this work together, that doesn't get people fired up. That probably is going to get maybe your immediate family fired up because they care about what you're doing and they're going to want to support you, right? But it doesn't get people who don't know you fired up at all, because guess what? They don't know you, but they know your problem you're addressing. They get irritated by the issue that you're addressing. So that's how you connect with people and get them to move. So I hope this video was helpful. Again, if you need help with strategies to become more visible, make sure you check out my nonprofit visibility masterclass, which I am linking below. And also, if you need help with your nonprofit, if you need help launching, I do have a free nonprofit startup checklist. I'm also going to link that below. And as always, you can come visit me at my website, www.bossonabudget.com. And I will see you in the next video.